Another Dooley Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. All right, welcome in to another Dooley Noted Podcast. Of course, we are brought to you and presented by Titan MRI. We love Joe Calori over there at Titan, and it is coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Of course, on Monday, we'll have Coach Spurrier back in here, courtesy of Meldon Law, and we appreciate everything they do for us and also being involved in the golf tournament. We were going to have Cole Kubelik on today, but he is going to a funeral. And I didn't ask him who, but I looked up who had just passed away, and it was Jeff Klein, quarterback at Auburn, and he played with him. And so we instead, and look, it's a good replacement. Heather Dinich is going to join us from ESPN, college football reporter. So, and of course, is locked in on the college football playoffs. So we'll talk to her. A lot of our shows going forward are going to be college football oriented as we get, kind of into the. Well, we want to talk about baseball and softball, but. It can only hold – you guys still want to hear a lot about football. That's what I'm trying to say. At least that's my read on Gator Nation. I may be wrong, and I may be crazy. I might just be that lunatic you're looking for. All right, so Heather Dinich will join us in just a little bit. I wanted to start out by talking about Billy Napier's tour of the state of Florida and I think Atlanta. Atlanta is the other one he's going to. He started it at the quarterback club, and we all know the Gainesville Quarterback Club, which has been a sponsor here of this podcast, and has done an unbelievable job, getting great speakers. But they had Billy Napier to start off, and he was really good in it. Now, again, I can't tell you a lot of what was said in it because that's the policy of the quarterback club. However, a lot of things have happened where he's talked to people and, it's come out. So, but I mean, there's nothing earth shattering. But the bottom line is what he is really pushing for, and he did it with the quarterback club here in Gainesville, is NIL. Man, you guys, it doesn't matter whether you think NIL is stupid. It doesn't matter whether you want to get people off your lawn. It doesn't matter if you think that players are not supposed to get paid. It doesn't matter that you think those things. They're getting money, and the ones who are getting the most money are going elsewhere. The ones who are not getting a lot of money here are being recruited by other teams to go there, illegally I might add, but they're doing it. So what do you want? I think that's kind of his message. Look, I'm not saying I'm going to kick in $10,000. I'm not going Hugh Hathcock and give $12 million to the University of Florida. He's a great guy, by the way. Yeah, he's just given so much money to this university. And by the way, I did see that it is now called the Florida ballpark is now called Gary Condren Field because, or I guess ballpark, Condren Ballpark. He is one of the biggest donors. So it's kind of a battle between. It used to be just Ben Hill Griffin in the old days. Now it's kind of a battle between the two of those to see who's going to give the most money. And Florida likes that very much. In fact, I mentioned that on the air the other day, that Florida, I've been told, is kicking butt in terms of getting money in. And so we'll see how all that happens. So anyway, the point of all this was that Billy Napier's talked a lot about NIL and how important it is and how, whether you don't like it or not, it is here and it's going to be around. And we don't know how long, but it's here now. And if you want, and again, I'm not saying this because this is not my job, but if you want players to come here, you can help in this way, and that's kind of been his theme all around. And he's basically, I do think, I don't want to say he has delivered a bit of a horror show because he hasn't in terms of what he's got. He's let us know, and he's let the media know this. I got 22 really good players. Unfortunately, not all of them are going to play every down. And he doesn't really like a lot of the backups, and they're going to have to come through, and they're going to have to get better, or they're going to have to get out. And it has been interesting to see how quiet for Florida, the transfer portal's been. I thought by now they would be 5 deep into getting transfers. We'll see what happens there, going forward with that. But I was thinking about this, in the SEC, because the SEC is a different animal, as we all know. How many teams in the SEC have a realistic chance in the next 10 years to win a national championship? So if you ask that question of people, what would they say? Well, okay, Alabama and Georgia, we know that. I would definitely say LSU. I mean, look, it has been an absolute mess at LSU, and they've won national championships. It was a mess under Les Miles. They won the national championship. They lost 2 games in overtimes. I think they were both triple overtime, and they still won a national championship. The whole Ed Orgeron thing was, as we know, was a giant mess, and they still won a national championship. They can win a national championship, and now they've got Brian Kelly, who's a little less nonsense and a little more organized, maybe than the last 2 coaches. So, yes, you put them – now, is it going to be this year? No, I don't think there's any chance of them doing it this year. But they're good enough to win it. I do put Texas A&M in there, although I do think that the current A&M hype is a little bit over the top for me because they lost a lot of good players, and now they're counting on a lot of freshmen. So we'll see how good they are. But they do have a coach who's won one, and that is a big factor to me. He knows how to win a national title. I'm not saying any of these teams will or all these teams will, but if you ask somebody, the teams that have a chance in the next 10 years, and I would put Florida in there. Florida always has a chance to win a national title because of the quality of players down here, because of they seem to have a guy who's got this finally figured out. We'll see. But we don't know. I'm not saying they will, and they certainly aren't going to this year. And that is the end of the list for me. I wouldn't put Ole Miss, Mississippi State. I wouldn't put Auburn in there right now. I can't foresee an Auburn that's dominant that can win a national title. No, I just don't see that. I don't see certainly not Tennessee. Kentucky can get you to 10 wins. That's what they do. They're very good at it, but that's kind of it. So anyway, that was just something I was thinking about the other day when I was thinking about all the things I want to talk about college football, because we do want to get that kind of that discussion kind of talk. I mean, we're going to pay attention to baseball and softball and all the other sports that are going on in Florida, certainly, and we'll talk about those in a little bit. The other thing I want to talk about college football wise, is this. I want all Gator fans to understand that Utah is a really good football team. I think there's a part of Florida fans that are going, opening game. Yeah, we always win the opener. Who are we playing? Utah? Yeah, I remember playing them in the 70s. This is different, man. Utah is really good. And we were talking about this on the radio the other day, and I said, Utah's got better talent than Florida right now. Now, I don't expect that to continue, and it better not. If it does, then Florida will be looking for their 5th coach in 12 years or whatever it is. But no, there's no question in my mind that that Utah's got better talent. Now, I think the humidity will have a factor in that game, September 3rd. But the whole point of it was, don't anybody think for a second that Utah is not as good as a lot of SEC teams. A lot of SEC teams. All but maybe 2 SEC teams. So the Gators better strap it on. And if you can get them to the 4th quarter in that game, and here, I'm looking ahead already. I'm looking ahead to college football season. I actually did a high five on the 5 best games of the first weekend the other day for WRUF, because I'm already ready to move forward. And a lot of it's because I'm not expecting a lot out of this baseball and softball teams. Softball may come up and surprise me. I did want to talk. And again, baseball and softball both have huge series. It's going to be chaos over there on Sunday with both games within a half hour of each other. Baseball plays tonight against Tennessee, number 1 in the country. Softball plays against Arkansas, number 6 in the country. And that game's at 8. So baseball starts at 6:30, softball starts at 8. Which one gets over first? I could make that the Leonardo's at Millhopper quick pick. Which one gets over first? It's tough call there. I did want to talk about Jay Wright leaving Villanova. This is going to be a pattern that it's not going to be an overflow. It's not going to be a snowball going down the hill, but it's going to be a pattern where coaches get to a certain age and they go, I don't want to deal with this NIL, and I don't want to deal with the transfer portal. I don't want to deal with basketball or football. It's the same way with football. I don't want to deal with it. I've got enough money. I've had enough wins. I've won national championship. Let me get out of here. And that's what Billy did. And I know there's already people connecting Jay Wright to the Lakers job. You could see that happen. But it's a shame to see guys like him leave the profession. I mean, think about this. Florida fans were really high on Jay Wright. They wanted to go get Jay Wright. Not all, but a lot of people did. Obviously, if he was going to retire, he wasn't going to come here. Well, people do retire to Florida. That used to be Spurrier's pitch. Hey, if you're going to eventually get to be 60 years old and you're going to retire down here, why not come now? Get a start on everybody. That's how we got James Bates to come down here. All right, so we got that. And also Daryl LaMonica dying at 80. I think it was today. I may have been yesterday, but it was today. Remember that very well, the LaMonica to Biletnikoff. I wasn't a Raiders fan. I was kind of an anti-Raider, but he was certainly one of the great players to ever play in the NFL. So we got all that going on. I got a lot of other things to talk about. We got to get to all of our fun stuff. Heather Dinich will join us in about 3 or 4 minutes. But I did want to talk about something Dennis Dodd and I talked about the other day, where I was working on a story and I talked to him. He's great, and we're going to get him back on the show again about we get back to the NIL and transfer portal thing, which everybody's either losing their mind over or embracing or begrudgingly taking care of it. Not always well. But the bottom line is, guys, it is grown-up problems that cause this, not the kids. Don't get mad at the kids. The kids are doing what the grown-ups told them to do. The grown-ups said, we're not going to let you transfer to this school. We can stop it. We're going to block it. Well, eventually they pushed and pushed. Now we have chaos. Coaches kept getting more and more money, holding out, telling their team, leaving for other jobs to get more money. Players saw this. Look, he's getting this much because his agent threatened to go somewhere else. So he's got this huge raise. We still can't buy pizza. You guys all brought it on yourselves. Sorry. It's just the way it is. The grown-ups caused the problem, not the kids. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Heather Dinich, who will talk about a lot of college football again. When we continue, you're watching Another Dooley Noted Podcast or listening to it here on from the Meldon Law Gator Studios, presented by Titan MRI.
Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Another Duly Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coaches Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Spite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where you're ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life. And the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Okay, welcome back to Another Duly Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Right now we're going to go to the Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line and get the great Heather Dinich from ESPN. You know her well from TV and all her great writing she does, and she does an unbelievable job. And Heather, how are you? I mean, this is kind of the you're almost done with spring games. It's kind of the quiet time for you, isn't it?
No quiet time for college football. Stop. Come on. This is year-round now. As a matter of fact, next week I'm heading to Dallas for the CFP spring meetings. And then the week after that, I'm going to be in Phoenix for the whole week for league meetings for the Big 10, Big 12, Pac-12. So busy slate coming up over the next couple of weeks.
Now, what do you think will happen from that? I mean, is this just going to be a lot of guys eating free shrimp and just hanging around, just coming out with the same information that we've been getting about the college football playoff?
Well, not even the same information. This is a typical annual spring meeting that they're having, where they always have it in Irving, Texas. And quite frankly, I'd be surprised if they talk about college football playoff expansion very much, if at all. But, I think it's fair for college football fans to ask, well, now what? And so I'm going to be there, and I'm going to ask that question for them.
Well, and that, I mean, look, I was just talking about this. I mean, the reason we have a transfer portal is coaches screwed it up. The reason we have an NIL is the NCAA screwed it up. The reason we still don't have a playoff is there's just no leadership in college football. And I didn't know what you took from Dabo saying that we, again, given that commissioner conversation, which I always laugh at that because everybody wants a commissioner until the commissioner rules against you. And then you're like, get him out. We need a new commissioner.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And, well, look, and it's not just college football. College athletics in general has a vacuum when it comes to leadership. I mean, earlier today I was sitting here watching Willie Taggart on trial for Oregon, and the whole basis of that lawsuit is against the NCAA, and that it doesn't have actual rules to prevent overexertion. And the NCAA has its argument in typical fashion, which is, hey, it's not up to us to create the rules. It's up to the conferences and the individual schools, right? I mean, we hear this constantly, no matter what it is. And so to your point, yes, leadership vacuum, 100%. College athletics is notorious for moving slowly at a glacier pace in terms of getting things done. And the playoff is certainly another illustration of that.
Yeah, I'm like, what is up to the NCAA? I mean, because they always say nothing, it's not our thing. We're not supposed to be dealing with this. What are you supposed to be dealing with? I don't know. I mean, do you think it's good, the NCAA will, 10 years from now will still exist?
I think something has to exist to enforce the rules, right? I think it's going to change drastically. And the Power 5 conferences, particularly the SEC, the Big Ten, with a pending new TV contract, are going to take the lead in the race. But I think there has to be something to hold people accountable and to hold championships. We get tunnel vision in college football, right? Yep. But the NCAA plays a critical role in hosting championships for all the other sports.
No question about it. You know what's interesting, though, about when you talk about other sports, because I just obviously was paying a lot of attention to gymnastics, kind of a gymnastics geek. I hate to admit it, but I'm a big fan of the sport. And nobody ever says, hey, why is it always the same teams in gymnastics that go to the finals? Why is it always the same teams? UConn every year, South Carolina. But in football, why is it a big deal in football, but it's not a big deal in any other sport? I've been trying to think of why that is.
Well, probably because in most every other sport, other teams at least have a shot to beat those teams. Right. I guess that's probably the difference, is the appearance of fairness, which is what a 12-team playoff would aim to do. I mean, but look, I wonder, and I think about this often, did people complain when Florida State had Bobby Bowden and they won all those national titles? Is there going to be a point where people look back on Nick Saban and say, man, wow, we got to live through that and cover that and that era and that dynasty and be a part of that and appreciate it. Whereas now it's easy to be fatigued by it. But I just think history and time changes perception. And as you go through it, it's sort of wah, 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 same teams, right? But 20 years from now, it's like, wow, hey, we were there for that. And that was the best football in the country at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is kind of funny that when you talk about championships and winning championships, and the same teams win them in a lot of sports. That's part of the glory of it. But it is weird to be here where you had this incredible run, both in football and basketball, and then Florida trying to scratch and claw its way back to that. But it hadn't really happened. I don't know I don't know if you got to watch the spring game. It wasn't anything special, but obviously Florida's not going to be a team that's going to be ranked in the preseason. I think that's probably just as well, because I don't think they should be.
No, I agree. Look, Paul Feinbaum and I went at it last year because I didn't think they should be in the top 25 last year.
You were right.
Here's the thing, though, and I keep looking at Florida because I'm looking at it through the lens of Utah being a potential college football playoff dark horse. And look, if Utah is going to be taken seriously, that's a game they should win. And it's on the road. It's a chance to make a statement against an SEC team, whether it's ranked or not. But if Florida wins that game, that's a big deal for Billy Napier. I mean, because Utah is a good team, and they're defending Pac-12 champs, and that's not a gimme for either team. I think that's going to be one of the best games of September, to be quite honest, and very meaningful for both programs.
Well, I was just going to say, I don't know who the game is more important for, to be honest with you. It's because, as you mentioned, Utah, they think they're good enough to win the whole thing and at least get into the playoffs. And we saw what they did to Oregon last year. Florida, obviously, you don't want to get off your new era with a loss, especially a bad loss. But as I talked about in the first segment, Utah's got better players than Florida right now. I mean, that's going to change, but right now they've got better players. They
do. And anyone who watched the Rose Bowl, I don't care what team you're a fan of, it was a spectacular college football game. So exciting and so fun. And Utah has, I want to say, 16 starters from that team coming back. And they've got a lot of young players who, because of COVID, are using that extra year of eligibility. And so you've just got a veteran team that really came off an outstanding second, half of the season. They struggled early, but they've got to be more consistent. And then when you look at what they can do against the Pac-12, everybody loves that shiny new object in LA. But to me, it's like Kyle Whittingham, he's the coach to beat right now because of that veteran experience on his staff, on his roster, all those things that you just mentioned.
Yeah, there's no question about it. It's going to be interesting to see how well they do and how well they handle it. But, like you said, if Florida can get that win, then guess what? You got physical Kentucky coming in next, and then you get an open date, which is USF, and then you get to go to Knoxville, which all of a sudden, feels like a different place now, like it's alive again. So it's not going to be easy for Billy Napier's first year.
No, it's not. But, I think he was a great hire. I really do. I've followed his career the whole way, actually, and he's done a great job. And I think what was interesting to me was that his hire was overshadowed by all of the other drama in the coaching carousel that happened. And I feel like he would have gotten a lot more attention if it wasn't for the Brian Kelly LSU and Lincoln Riley USC. I mean, all of that happened so quickly. It was just like, wait a minute, everybody's talking about these guys, but Florida got a pretty darn good coach too. But you've got to let it play out. And I remember talking to Scott Strickland, it was, sometime around the hire. And he just talked about the coaches we brought in, they win, but he wants to see somebody win consistently at the highest level. And you don't do that overnight. But to your point, you got to beat Utah to start, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's funny in basketball, we're seeing this happen and Jay Wright being the latest example, where the guys are getting out and they're like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. It's gotten. That's why Billy's not here anymore. Of course, Gator fans wish he still was. But in football, I don't know if we're going to get more of that with all the NIL money. But the money for the coaches is so high that I don't know that I think they're going to kind of put up with it. What's your take on that?
Yeah, it's astronomical how much coaches are making, and not even just head coaches, assistant coaches. And, the money that's being paid to coaches for getting fired is astronomical. So, you've got the buyouts and all of that. I don't think that it's going to change that much. I think it depends on the conference, the competition, the situation for everybody. But I see coaches who are in this game hanging in there. But, again, it depends on age and situation and all that and what their aspirations are. I mean, you've got guys like Tommy Rees at Notre Dame, their offensive coordinator. He's going to be a head coach someday, you know? So,
I mean, somebody will coach these teams, right?
Right. I'll do it. Yeah. I might not do it very well, but for the money that they're paying, you know what? I'll do it for a quarter of what you're paying Billy Napier. How about
that? I'll do it for less than that. I can tell you that. Yeah. He's doing pretty well. All right, before we let you go, Heather, we do this with all of our guests, the Big Mills cheesesteaks, and I know Heather, I'm sure, is not a big cheesesteak fan since she weighs like 92 pounds, But the Big Mills Cheesesteaks is, of course, the sponsor here. And if you go into Big Mills Cheesesteaks, you get a free order of French fries. If you mentioned Another Dooley Noted Podcast. Yes, no way, or maybe. It's a famous game they're using in school criteria now in the city of Gainesville. That's how big yes, no way, or maybe is, just so you know. All right, number one. I read a story today that somebody made this point, and I'm going to ask you if you think it's true. The biggest threat for Alabama in the SEC West is Ole Miss this year.
No way.
There we go.
In the SEC West, I'm going with, well, first of all, I've got Arkansas as a dark horse. They beat Texas A&M last year. They played a close game against Alabama. And then look out for Mississippi State, I think. Mike Leach is doing a good job. I don't think he's getting enough credit for what he might have coming back. And then, of course, Texas A&M. Hello, McFly. I mean, that should be at the top of the list, right?
Well, and you can make an argument for LSU because if Brian Kelly goes in there and it gets straightened out, which it hasn't been for a while, I mean, he's done that. He's done that everywhere he's gone. He's straightened out a program that was struggling.
He has, and you could make a case for LSU, but I'm not going to do it this year. I want to see it happen. Yeah, I mean, great coach, and now he has everything he needs at his fingertips, and then some. But he's got a lot of work to do on and off the field at LSU.
Absolutely. All right, number 2 on Yes, Nowhere. Maybe Bryce Young repeats as the Heisman Trophy winner.
Maybe. Not 100% sold on it. If you look at all of the players who are coming back, gosh, Hembo on Get Up texted me the other day, the list of them, and there are so many of them that it's, gosh, I was typing NC State quarterback name and looking at his statistics. They're insane.
Yeah,
so I'm going to go with me. Yeah, I think it's a very, very wide open field this year.
And as you know, Heather, I mean, once you win one, there's kind of an attitude of, all right, he's got his. He's got his one.
Right.
And certainly that happened with Tebow. Because 2008, he had the most first place votes and didn't win the Heisman. I don't know that anybody else ever had that. All right, finally for you.
No. Oh, wait. I just want to tell you, Will Anderson, Brock Bowers, Trayvon Henderson, Bijan Robinson, Jackson Smith-Njigba, C.J. Stroud, Caleb Williams, Bryce Young, all coming back.
Yeah. And all you need is that Heisman moment, where the guy who still has a vote, who writes obits in Spokane, is going to, I remember that play. I saw it in a bar somewhere. I'm going to vote for him. So
exactly.
That's all you need. All right, finally on Yes, Nowhere, maybe the SEC will have 2 playoff teams this year.
This question exhausts me because the SEC will have 2 playoff teams this year. I'm going to go out on a limb and say no because, maybe I should say maybe. Maybe it's such an easy out, though, right?
It is. It's a coward's way. Yeah.
It is. I'm going to go no. I'm going to say no because I think that the Pac-12 might have a contender, whether it's USC or Utah. I'm going to go out on a limb there and say that.
And there is some SEC fatigue, though. There's no doubt about it.
There is, but here's the thing. I'm not a believer in Clemson, and I don't know that Pitt or NC State have what it takes to get in terms of resume-wise and impressing the selection committee. NC State certainly does not. So you can have a one-loss ACC champ that doesn't get in. Notre Dame might not get in. Marcus Freeman is an outstanding human being. I don't know if he's going to get them to the playoff his first year, right? So you take Notre Dame out. And then if you don't have USC or Utah, which is probably the case, the Pac-12's out. And then what do you have? Have in the
Next
in
thing
the
you know,
Big
you get
12?
Well, it's funny that Ohio State, I was thinking about that Ohio State Notre Dame is almost a loser leaves town game to start the season. Like whoever loses, you're going to have to fight. You can get back in. But you can't lose any more games. You can't even have a close game from that point.
Right.
So it'll be interesting.
It'll be fun. That's what's great about college football.
I know. And that's why we love playing Yes, No Way, or Maybe, especially with the wonderful Heather Dinich, and we appreciate you being on the show today. We thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you down the road, okay, Heather?
Thank you, and I do eat cheesesteaks.
Good for you. So do I, as you can tell.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Thanks to Heather Dinich from ESPN for joining us. What a great interview. Well, it wasn't. I was great. She was great. Always fun to talk to her. We've got all of our fun things to do when we come back, but we do want to appreciate her for joining us on the Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line and the Big Mills Cheesesteaks Yes, No Way, or Maybe. They sponsor both of those things, and they also are sponsor of something that we're going to talk about on this, that, and the other a little bit later in the show. So we got all of our other stuff as well, the fun stuff we do on the third segment, as you know, and we'll be back with that after we take this break. You're watching or listening to Another Dooley Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill.
Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Another Duly Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Duly Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Okay, welcome back to Another Duly Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. So great to have Heather on. And really, as a last minute, as I mentioned earlier, Cole Kubelik was going to be on, but had to take a pass going to the funeral of Jeff Klein, his former teammate. And so Monday we'll have Coach Spurrier on, and then next Friday we're going to do it live from Ironwood, where we're going to be getting ready for the sponsors party for the Bob Dooley Invitational. But we didn't want to leave you guys out. We wanted you to kind of see what kind of stuff we're doing and some of the prizes. We got our hats today. That was big. I'll get to that in a moment. All right. It is time for the Leonardo's and Millhopper Quick Picks, and I did a lot of the paperwork to make sure we got everybody. Those of you who didn't qualify on this last one, a lot of you did, so it was about half and half, the Nets or the Celtics. You got a chance again today, and then a chance Monday. And then Friday on live from Ironwood, we will make a call on that. In fact, I think my brother Tim is going to be involved in that. That'll be fun. So here's our Leonardo's quick picks. And I know I like to give you guys a little time to make these because I know that some of you aren't watching it live. You don't get to it till the next day. So I'm just going to ask you about Sunday with Florida baseball and softball. Sunday, big games. Obviously, number 1 Kentucky or Tennessee is here in baseball. Number 6 Arkansas. in softball. These are huge games for the Gators, and it feels like every weekend Florida is in a transition situation. I don't know how that happens, but it's like, are they is this where they kind of get it going or not? Or maybe they take a big step backwards. I don't know what's going to happen. Georgia was a step backwards. Arkansas was a step forwards. Vanderbilt was kind of a step sideways. They did win, but they could have won all three, but they did win one. And anyway, Tennessee this week, with what Florida wants, where Florida wants to get, they need to take 2 out of 3. They probably aren't. This is a really good Tennessee team. I'm curious how chippy it gets because Florida's been a little chippy this year at times, and Tennessee's chippy all the time. Of course, their coach will not be there for the first 3 games. I guess he'll be there, but he's not going to be able to coach because of the suspension he got. But it'll be really interesting. Of course, Florida's going to be pitching without Hunter Barco, their ace, who is out, but we don't know for how long. It's up to him. Basically his camp is not ready for him to come back and may not ever be ready for him to come back. Just because they're worried. They're worried. Whenever you hurt your arm, he's a lefty, right? So whenever you hurt your arm and you've got a lot of money on the line, yeah, you're going to be worried. I mean, people have to do what they have to do, but hopefully he does come back and pitch for Florida. It's not a Tommy John situation or anything like that, but hopefully he comes back and does pitch for Florida, but it's his call. He could pitch technically this week if he chose to, but anyway, I'm not saying anything negative about him. I'm not saying anything negative about anybody in his camp, the agents and all that, or advisors. I'm not saying anything negative about anybody. I'm just saying this is what it is, and you kind of can understand both sides of it. Anyway, it's a long way of getting to what the Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks are. It's just one thing. You got to tell me how many games the Gators win on Sunday. Basketball and softball. Basketball. If there was a basketball game, that would be a scoop. That would be a big story. Baseball and softball. So obviously the most they could win is 2. The least they could win is 0. 0.000. But that's the question. All you got to do is tell me they're going to win 1, 2, or 0. And we'll get some more people qualified. We'll do one more on Monday, and then we'll make that pick. By the way, our Adams Rib Coated Go Gator of the Week, and I don't have time to go look this up again, but I looked it up earlier. It is going to John Dubois, and I assume it's Dubois. It could be Dubose, could be Dubois, like some people pronounce it Napier. I'm a St. Augustine guy. I'm calling him Napier. But again, John Dubois had a 64 yesterday in the SEC tournament. That's golfing your ball right there. And Florida is right there with a chance to do something, at least, get to match play, and then you never know when you get to match play. They're still playing right now. He's through 15 today and is 2 under today. But a 64, that's big-time golfing your ball, man. So you got to go with him as the Gator of the Week, presented by Adams Rib Coated Go. Adams Rib Coated Go, which will be serving lunch at the Bob next Saturday. Oh, can't wait. My favorite part of the whole tournament is when I get that at the end of the tournament. All right. It is time for 3 things presented by Hand Law. Of course, Hand Law is a Florida law firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand Law by visiting its website at www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville. Number one, I saw this thing that, and again, we had Andy Staples last week, and he did this thing for The Athletic that was really interesting about from 2010 to 2019, who paid the most for each win. In other words, whatever you spent on football, coaches, all the other stuff, recruiting, and how many games you won is just mathematics at that point. Not surprisingly, Kansas paid the most per wins, mostly because they didn't win very much. Florida was up there. I obviously was not your favorite decade. It's kind of weird when you think about that decade from 2010 to 2019. obviously, Alabama, Clemson, those are the schools that didn't pay a lot per win because they won a lot of games. But it was an interesting, you can go read it at The Athletic. Florida paid $4.06 million per win during that decade. Okay. Seems right. Seems about right. But the thing about that decade is there were so many highlights from 2010 to 2019. There were great games. There were fun days. There were great days in the swamp. The LSU game, the Tennessee, both of those Tennessee miracle wins, those were great days in the swamp. Those were under McElwain. The LSU game, obviously, too. Then, of course, the Auburn game, which was an incredible crowd. There were the Ole Miss game when Will Grier had the flu. I mean, you can keep going back, but it was just this amazing roller coaster that you never thought Florida would ever get on again. They were on it for much of Florida football, and then Spurrier came, and there was no roller coaster anymore. It was like this. You know, it might be a little dip, but you were getting – nobody was screaming or losing their lunch when you had that dip. And then Zook came in, and Zook, like, it was a lower, but it was pretty consistent what they did, but it was much lower. And then, of course, Meyer, tremendous, again, gets it up there, and then the last year fell off a little bit when he wasn't really coaching. But since then, it's just been unbelievable. Unbelievable how up and down it's been. And that's what I thought that was really interesting what Heather said that Scott Strickland story. We're bringing in coaches that win. They just don't win consistently. And that was Mullen. That was certainly Mike White. And now they got to try to win consistently. At any rate, very interesting chart in The Athletic. Number 2 and number 3 I'm putting together because they're the same thing, but they're different. Okay, and I'll start with number 2. The NCAA having their meetings, having their rules thing, and I know they'll Heather talked about it next week, their convention, they'll discuss this, I'm sure. They've come up with a plan for what some people see as too many targeting fouls called, too many players being ejected, and their plan is certainly, as always, as everything they do, is very flawed. What they're saying is you can appeal a target, and by appeal of the target, it would be if you got a call for targeting the second half, you're out for the first half of the next game. Well, you can appeal it. They can have the head of officials look it over. They can really study it, spend some time on it, maybe a day later tell you whether you got a guy. Not like if you had a targeting and you wanted to appeal it immediately and guys, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to look at? Yeah, I get that part of it, but it's just stupid because I don't know why a guy who targets in the second half of the game and the guy who targets in the first half of the game should have different rules anyway. But look, it comes down to something that's really not that complicated. You know what targeting is. You know when a player lowers his head and tries to knock another player's helmet off or tries to hurt another player. You know what it is. What you don't want to see are these accidental bangings of helmets that become guys leaving games. We want safety, but what you were trying to get rid of is not what you're getting rid of. In fact, I think you pretty much have gotten rid of those kind of things where a guy goes after a guy, another player. But you can't get rid of everything. You can't get rid of helmets hitting. Occasionally, a guy's going to lower his head and turn and all that. I mean, you watch a bunch of games like I do. There's an easy answer here, is all I'm saying. And that is just to have people that are a little bit more aware, maybe teach them more about what you would consider. I mean, change. I'm not saying you need to get rid of targeting, and you need to get rid of reviews. But sometimes you look at targeting and the guy was not targeting him, but the helmets did touch, and now you're worried he's going to get thrown out. I don't know. That to me is kind of silly. That they came up with a bad plan to fix a problem that is a problem. That's number 2. Number 3, though, on the hand law of 3 things is another thing the NCAA has decided to do, which again is a simple answer that they can't comprehend. It drives me nuts. They want to solve the problem of faking injuries. Okay, there's a simple answer to this. If a player is down and they have to come out and the clock has to stop, he has to sit out a minimum of 2 plays. I wouldn't even mind making it 3. But for him to go out of the game for 1 play and come back in, that's where the problem is. Make it 3. So that if a defensive lineman and you go, I can't afford to be without him for 3 plays, this is the end of the game. So I can't have him fake an injury. If he is injured, he's injured. Because that's the thing. You can't say that this guy faked an injury. You can't say it. He's the only one that knows. But what the plan is to submit a report. This is like the Pentagon or something. You have to submit a report about whether guys you thought were faking injuries or were not. So, in other words, if you are faking an injury to make the clock stop, and you lay down there on the ground, they finally come and get you, don't go over there and start dancing around and want to get in the next play. Those are things they're going to get. So they're going to have guys probably go, oh, it really hurts, but work on it a little bit. So maybe in a way they are making them sit out more than 1 play. But to me, that's a simple answer. But anyway, the NCAA, we all know. We talked about it. We just talked about it with Heather. All right, so that is our hand law 3 things. We appreciate hand law double sponsors. Got to get Robbie on. The Coach Spurrier, we love it. Part of it is kind of backed up our guests a little bit. But that's fine. We have no problem with that. In fact, one thing I want to talk to Coach Spurrier about is, the SEC and how it's changed and how he changed it, because that was one thing we were talking about. I just was talking about it a little while ago. Before Spurrier got here, there weren't that many great quarterbacks. There were a bunch of guys that were okay. They were SEC quarterbacks. And there was a difference between not an SEC quarterback and an SEC quarterback and what an SEC quarterback is now. It's just changed light years. So we'll talk to him about that on Monday. All right, right now, though, we do need to get to the Hesser and Kipke games of the weekend. I wish I could. I should have sent this to you so you could put it up. Ken Hesser is in Philadelphia for the Phillies game tonight, raising a glass to the Another Dooley Noted podcast family. I appreciate that. He's a great double sponsor, and we appreciate him. All right, the Hesser and Kipke games of the weekend are brought to you by Hesser and Kipke, a law firm based in Hale Plantation, specializing in employment, workers' comp, and family law. Visit their website at www.hklawfl.com or call Ken and Jennifer at 352-339-9920. So here's some of the stuff we have going on. Again, it depends on what you like. To me, I'm kind of getting into some of these NBA games. This is what happens. Playoff time, I get fired up, start watching them. Just to let you know, I'm curious about Milwaukee, Chicago, especially the Bulls with Billy Donovan. That's the basic reason I'm watching it. They're tied at 1. They play at 8:30 Friday, and they also play on Sunday. I think earlier on Sunday, but they play twice this weekend. I do have to mention Philly-Toronto because of Ken, because he's a big Philly guy. And, of course, Philly up 3-0. I didn't think they would do that. They play Saturday at 2. They get the crap time when nobody's watching basketball. The night game that night, the 7:30 game, Boston and Brooklyn, which has been an unbelievable series so far. And look, I'm not saying you need to go watch more of these games. You need to go sit there and watch the entire games of all these playoff games. No, I'm watching the fourth quarter like everybody else. I'll flip it on and go, what's going on? Okay, well, I'll be curious where they are in the fourth quarter. And I turn on the fourth quarter and I watch the game because that's the way it works. All right. Also, men's tennis is playing today at 3 o'clock, right after we're done with the show, against LSU. of course, men's tennis is 20-2 there. This is the SEC championship for men's tennis. The women's tennis plays Arkansas today. In fact, they may be the team I wanted to look up. Don't worry about it. And see how they were doing. So that's all going on. We mentioned the men's golf earlier. We already know the women's golf. Softball, the game times, 8 o'clock tonight, obviously TV related. And there's a lot of people, because it's an older crowd. Although they got some young people. It's an older crowd. They're going, 8 o'clock. Damn it. Matlock is over by then. 8 o'clock tonight, 2:30 on Saturday. So that'll work out pretty well. And I'll get to the baseball time. 12:30 on Sunday. Sunday's going to be a nightmare over there. But baseball plays at 6:30 tonight and 6:30 tomorrow. So on Saturday, you got a 2:30 softball game. It's long over. Then the baseball crowd comes in. So that works out. But 12:30 and 12 does not work out. So I do have to go out there for that. So I guess I better get there really early. Also, lacrosse has Temple at noon on Saturday if you want to go out for that. That is the Hesser and Kipke games of the weekend that have been going on. And, of course, we'll be back on Monday with the Power 5 for baseball. I don't think my Braves are still going to make it. Lost 2 out of 3 to the Dodgers. So they got the Marlins tonight. So at least I guess that game will be on TV. A lot to watch tonight because I baseball and softball and Gator baseball I mentioned, but also Braves baseball I think will be on as well. Yeah, you have to adjust, right? As the seasons change, you have to adjust. All right, and finally on the show, This, That, and the Other, as always, presented every Friday by Ballyhoo Grill. Look forward to the fried gator that actually Bill Reichert's wife is going to bring out because Bill's got so much going on. Scheduling on graduation Saturday, probably not the best thing, but it's okay. We're going to be fine. All right, so This, That, and the Other brought to you by Ballyhoo Grill, by Darshackow Insurance, of course, and by Ironwood Golf Course. New greenskeepers out there started Thursday. They're going to do a good job. I'm excited about that. All right, This is after the 25th Bob Dooley Invitational was going to be the last one, okay? I just felt like it had gone too far. I didn't want to do it anymore. We had a lot of people talk to us about doing it, keeping it going. I wanted to because of my dad and everything. So that was This. That was after we decided to go ahead and do it. We had a COVID year. We couldn't play it, so we had to get away from it. And it made things a lot harder to do, getting people to come out. And I don't blame them because of trying to find people to come out there. But the other is that Gainesville has come through again. And unbelievable, the stuff we have gotten, the people that are going to be out there on the course. You know, I'm going to plug them all I can during the next few days. It means a lot to me, all the stuff that they've done. You know. And also, I just went by gift certificates and more and got a couple of gift certificates from him, and we'll be out there next Thursday, doing the radio out there. So I want to plug that. That's a big food fest, so make sure you come out there. I want to plug everybody. Big Mills, we love Big Mills. We love all our title sponsors, Titan, MRI, and of course Leonardo's at Millhopper. We love all these people. Davis Chevy, Hugh Kane, Allstate, Emmer Development, all these people that are title sponsors and sponsors. I know you're tired of me doing it, but I'm still going to do it because I love these people. I love that they're able to help and continue to help, even in tough times, even with all the stuff we've all been through lately. You know, it's not been easy for any of us. But thank you, Gainesville. This is why I love it here. All right, that's going to do it for today's show. Thanks to Evan for doing a bang-up job as well, as he always does. And he'll be doing an interesting one Friday, live from Ironwood Golf Course. I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be something. We don't know what. That's going to do it for today's show. Thanks again to, of course, to Heather Dinich for coming on. Next Monday, Steve Spurger, as always. We'll do that. Until next time, I am Pat Dooley. I'm deep. I'm way back, and I am out of here.